So today we're taking a look at Lesson 9, Conversation 2. And this is our negative personality. And so do you remember what is our situation? Well, you have been exercising and seeing a little bit of an improvement, but maybe not a ton. But you feel like posting a picture on the internet to see what your friends think and if they give you some nice comments. But then one of your friends replies and says, "Oh, I'm getting fat," and sends you a picture and they look amazing. What the heck? Oh my gosh. And this time you react in a very negative way. You, are you making fun of me? So you think this person is sending this photo just to make you angry to, you're not as good looking as me. Oh, geez, I'm sure your friend wasn't trying to do that. But sometimes we're in a bad mood and we react strongly to little things, right? I'm angry. And so what do you decide to do? Well, your friend says, "Hey, don't get mad, get even. You should focus on yourself." And then you can be like that person. You go, "Okay, I'm going to get revenge." And how do you do that? By powerlifting and putting on lots of muscle and going to a weightlifting competition. Oh my gosh. So powerlifting is something that's pretty popular in America. This is a kind of weightlifting where they lift really, really, really heavy weights only a couple times. So powerlifting, they might lift something only 3, 4, or 5 times and say, "I'm done." Crazy. People who weightlift with lighter weights might lift it 10 or 20 times, but powerlifting, a very short amount of times. So it helps them get really big, really fast. Crazy, right? So then you join the powerlifting competition and try to show off. "Oh, I got this. Everyone's weak. All these people are wimps. I'm going to win." But you're being kind of a jerk, right? So you're being too confident and you try to show everyone who's boss. But it doesn't go so well, right? You try to lift something too heavy and then, it doesn't work out. So let's take a look at our homework for this lesson and the different ideas that we've learned. So this lesson, we have 3 main topics. First, we learned about adjectives and adverbs, which are describing words, words that we use to describe things and give more detail. And these are really useful and important words, and they make your speech and your writing much more interesting. If you don't use enough describing words, maybe your sentences sound kind of boring. And then we took a look at one describing word that's kind of tricky, the word hard and hardly. And we can use hardly in a few different ways, and it means basically almost nothing, right? And then the fourth part of our lesson was that we were learning about the position of adverbs. Adverbs are words that describe how you do something, when you do something, where you do something, and give opinions and stuff, and frequency, and how often, and they can go in different parts of a sentence, and we can move them around. It's flexible, but if you're ever not sure, each kind of word has a default place that it goes, a usual spot where it goes. And we learned some of that. And then last but not least, we had our dialogue where we learned some phrases and we learned about lifting weights and exercising and a few words about competitions, right? And so let's just get straight into it. Maybe we can set a PR for the least wrong answers or the most right answers. What do you think? Do you remember what a PR is? A personal record. So could we set a personal record for the most perfect answers? Maybe. Everyone did really good this time. So let's get into it. We're starting with are adjectives and adverbs, these describing words. And what do we use them for? Adjectives describe things, adverbs describe actions, or other describing words. Okay? The sky is blue. The man is running quickly. How quickly? The man is running really quickly. Okay? So these are some describing words that can help you out and you can use in lots of sentences. So let's get started with our homework. And our first set of sentences are talking about cats. Do you have a cat at home? I don't. I think their fur gets stuck on everything and makes me crazy. They're cute, but I don't like their fur. Ugh. So our first sentence is 猫咪是非常难懂的生物. So cats are really hard to understand. Now this is a very good way to translate this. You can say cats are really hard to understand. I don't get it. What are they doing? Another way to say this would be cats are incredibly difficult to understand. So it means basically the same thing. It sounds a little bit more intense, right? Cats are really hard to understand. Cats are incredibly difficult to understand. It sounds more, right? But these words are very similar. Just giving you some more options to use, okay? And then if we want something closer to the Chinese, you can use my third sentence. Cats are incomprehensible animals. Now, this is an advanced word, but people use it. Incomprehensible. So you probably know the word comprehend. Well, maybe you do. Comprehend means to understand something. If you can understand it, it's comprehensible. If you cannot understand it, it's incomprehensible. Incomprehensible. You try. Good. Incomprehensible. Cats are incomprehensible animals. Oh, wow. Okay. Now, there are two ways to think of this sentence. Cats are really hard to understand. Okay? So we're using really hard or incredibly difficult to understand. So we're describing how you understand them. It's really hard. It's not easy. Or you can use incomprehensible to describe the animals. Cats are incomprehensible animals. Okay? So if you use the word animals, you need an adjective to describe animals. But really hard cannot describe cats here. Well, you can't just say really hard. I saw somebody say cats are animals really hard to understand. Now, we don't want to add the word animals in there at the beginning because really hard to understand is describing cats. Now, you could put animals at the end and say cats are really hard to understand animals. So this phrase, really hard to understand, is describing animals. But we don't need the word animals. You can say cats are really hard to understand. Okay? So we're describing the cats, and what are we doing? Understanding them. Okay? Another way that I saw a student write is cats are creatures which are really hard to understand. And the grammar is okay. It just sounds a little bit too much. So creatures means animals. It's like a fancy way to say animals. Cats are creatures. What kind of creatures? Cats are creatures which are really hard to understand. The grammar is good, but you're making it more complicated than you need to. Like we've said before, keep it simple. So cats are really hard to understand. Or cats are really hard to understand animals. But you don't need that word animals, okay? So I just explained cats are creatures which are really hard to understand. That's yours. That's pretty good. The grammar is correct, but it's a little more complicated than you need. You could say cats are really hard to understand, and that keeps it a little more simple. Adding this which phrase makes it longer and more complicated. It doesn't need that. So Cats are something. Okay? Next, we have 他们有时想要你轻轻拍他的头。So cats really like that, right? So you could say, sometimes they want you to gently pat their heads. So I use the word pat. Pat is like pat, 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 pat. Okay? Now, you could also use the word pet. They want you to pet their heads gently sometimes. And pat and pet are a little bit different. When I see pie in Chinese, I think pat. Pat, pat, pat. Pet with an E is more like pet, pet. Am I being creepy? Sorry. So pet is like you rub your hand on the animal. I would think that more like 摸它的头, like oh, pet your cat, rather than pat your cat. Okay? So pat and pet are a little bit different. Okay? You can pat someone on the back. Good job. But you don't pet someone on the back. Oh, good job. That's a little creepy. Don't pet someone. Okay? So we can say this a couple ways. Sometimes they want you to gently pat their heads. Now, looking at this, if we think forward to our lesson about the position, we learned that you can put adverbs in different places in a sentence, right? And so we can see this sentence and notice there are different ways to do this. Sometimes is about how, like frequency, how often it happens. And sometimes you can put it at the beginning to emphasize the word sometimes. Sometimes, blah, 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 blah. It means sometimes is important. The other place for sometimes would be at the end. They want you to pet their heads gently sometimes. And so the default position would be at the end, but you can put it at the beginning for emphasis. When I'm speaking, I put sometimes at the beginning pretty often. Everybody's a little different, okay? And then, just like sometimes, the word gently can move around too. The default place for gently would be at the end, showing how you did it, what way you did it. They want you to pet their heads gently. And gently goes at the end if it's important. If it's not a very important part of the sentence, you can put it before the verb, because the action is more important than gently, right? So they want you to gently pat their heads. That means pat their heads is the important part. They want you to pet their heads gently. Gently becomes the important part, right? We learned that in part 4 of this lesson, that if the adverb is at the end, it's important. If it's before the verb, it's a little bit less important, okay? But both are okay depending on what you're trying to say, okay? Someone used the word slightly instead of gently. So they want you to pat their heads gently. If you use the word slightly, it means something different. Slightly means you almost did it. You did it a tiny bit, but not really. So to pat gently is like pat, pat, pat. To pat slightly is like just a tiny bit. So not really. Okay? So slightly doesn't really work here. Slightly means a tiny bit, a very small amount. Maybe one little pat. Okay? Next up, we have 他们有时出乎意料的撒娇和甜人，黏人 don't lick me, 黏人 be close to me. Oops. So sometimes they're unexpectedly cuddly and clingy. Okay, now these are probably two words that are kind of new for you. They're unexpectedly cuddly and clingy. Ooh, that's tricky. You could also say sometimes they're surprisingly cutesy and clingy. So cutesy, take cute, add a C, cutesy. cutesy and clingy. Okay. Now, here, again, we have sometimes, and I put it at the beginning because I'm focusing on sometimes. Sometimes they want this, sometimes they do this, okay? So the sometimes is important. And we say they're unexpectedly. Unexpectedly means you don't expect it. It's a surprise. Usually the cat is running around, but now suddenly it wants your attention, okay? So unexpectedly just means, oh, I didn't expect that. And this is very similar to surprisingly. It was a surprise, okay? And what are the adjectives we're using here? They're unexpectedly cuddly and clingy. So 撒娇 in Chinese doesn't really have a good translation in English. There's not one word you can use here. There are many different choices. One word I think you guys could think of is the word affectionate. Affectionate means showing love. I'll type it in the chat just in case. Affectionate. Affectionate means very loving, showing love, but it's a little bit formal sounding. So it doesn't really fit when you're talking about your cat. It's a little bit formal. You could say it. Oh, she's surprisingly affectionate. Okay? But what can we say for 撒娇? We're talking about that they're being cute, they're being loving, they're being affectionate. So I use the word cuddly. Cuddly is an adjective meaning they want to cuddle. To cuddle means to like rub up against someone. To cuddle. So to cuddle. This is a really common word when we're talking about romance. Like a boyfriend and a girlfriend might cuddle together and watch a movie. They're close together and enjoying each other's space. Nothing too romantic. They're just sitting and like maybe hugging or something. They're cuddling. Okay? So you can use cuddly, an adjective to describe the way someone's acting. Okay? They want to rub up against you. So that works for a cat. And then clingy. 黏人, I say clingy. Clingy is like they stick on you and they don't want to go away. They cling is a verb meaning they grab on and don't let go. But we can use this to mean that that person really wants to be with you and they stick on you. We don't say sticky in English. We use clingy, okay? And a few other ways to say 撒娇. You could say lovey-dovey. Lovey-dovey means really, really showing too much love and, oh, it's a little bit too much. And then I use the word cutesy. Cutesy means someone is acting cute, but it might be a little bit too much and it might seem a little bit fake. Like if someone is like, oh, hey, how are you? It's like, oh, why are you being so cutesy? So like fake cute, okay? I saw someone use cuddling. Cuddling is a verb, so remember use cuddly with a Y, okay? I saw someone use playing cute. That's not a very common phrase, or I don't use that very much. I would use the word cutesy, being cutesy, okay? Or trying to be cute, something like that. We don't usually say playing cute, okay? And then I did see someone use the word coquettish. Now, coquettish is not a common word. And yes, if you look up 撒娇 in the dictionary, you might get coquettish. But coquettish is not common, and it's also pretty romantic sounding. Like someone, well, later we have someone who's secretly in love with you. They might give you a coquettish look. Ooh. But don't bother with that word. It's not very common. So you could say something like cuddly, cutesy, lovey-dovey, affectionate, acting cute, something like that. And then for clingy, I think clingy is the best. They're clinging onto you. They need you. You could also use needy, which is a word that we've learned together. Or have we yet? Or is that in the future? Oh, I forget. But the word needy will come up in one of your lessons. And then also want your attention or wanting your attention. That's kind of the same thing as needy or clingy. They want you to pay attention. Okay? Next up is 他们可以优雅的跳到很高的地方. They can jump up to high places gracefully. Okay? They can jump up to high places gracefully. So, this one I think everyone did really well on, and I don't really have many notes. There's one thing, gracefully. Some of you use the word elegantly. Now, what's the difference? But first, before we get into that, where does the word gracefully go? Well, I put it at the end because I'm focusing on that word. What's another place it can go? It can go before the main verb. So they can gracefully jump up to high places. That would be totally fine too. So gracefully can go at the end. That's the default position for a adverb of manner, showing you how they did it. But you can also put it before the main verb, jump, gracefully jump. Okay? Now, I use gracefully, but not elegantly. Why? So graceful and elegant are very similar words, and they mean a very nice, special, good way. Very smooth, very great, very beautiful. Okay? But graceful is usually for movement. Elegant is usually for appearance or looks. So you could say, oh, the ballerina danced gracefully. Ooh. Is that me? Graceful? I don't think so. Or you could say, that actress dresses elegantly. Okay? It's her appearance, her looks. So graceful is usually movement. Elegant is usually appearance. So keep that in mind. Okay? Next up is 当他们闻到臭的东西时，会做出超级爆笑的表情. Maybe something like this. So you could say, when they smell something stinky, they make a super hilarious expression. Scary, right? So when they smell something stinky, they make a super hilarious expression. Now this is very spoken language, right? So when they smell something stinky. Now, you don't have to use the word stinky. Stinky means it smells bad, so you can just use the word bad. When they smell something bad, okay? And then they make a super hilarious expression. So expression is what your face does. A happy expression, a sad expression. So that's your expression, how your face looks, what you're showing people. So how do we describe this expression? Well, hilarious. That's describing what kind of expression. How hilarious? Well, we use an adverb. You could use super, super hilarious expression, okay? Now, of course, you could say other things. You could say funny expression, or a very funny expression, or a really funny expression. Or you could even just say face instead of expression. So they will make a funny face, or make a hilariously funny face, or make a ridiculously hilarious face. Anything. Just some of these are more or less than the others. Funny is here, hilarious is here. Okay? So just changing how intense it is. Okay? And then I'd say when they smell something stinky, they make a super hilarious expression. What verb form do I have? I'm using present simple tense. Smell and make. Why? Well, this is every time, right? It's something that happens again and again. Present simple is used for things that always happen or happen again and again, okay? When they smell something stinky, they make a super hilarious expression. So Some of you use will make or would make. Will make is thinking about something that might happen. Like, if it smells something bad, it will make a funny face. That's making a prediction, kind of. And then somebody used would make. Remember, would means you're imagining it. Like, if it had smelled a funny smell, it would make a funny face. And we're imagining a situation if it happened. But we're talking about when it happens, or we know it will happen again and again. So present simple is better. Okay. So let's keep on moving. Again, let me know if you have any questions. So next up is talking about the word hardly. And hardly means not really, or only a tiny bit, right? So our first sentence is,我上班时间太忙了，几乎没有时间吃饭. Oh, yeah, it's terrible. I've been too busy at work, so I hardly have any time to eat. Another way to say this would be to link it even closer. I've been so busy at work that I barely have any time to get lunch. Okay? Good. So some of you got really close to that, or maybe, I forget, maybe exactly the same. So there are two ways to do this. You could use the word so as our connector. I've been too busy at work, so I hardly have any time to eat lunch. Here, so is kind of like therefore. This and then that. Okay? And then we could also use the word that in a similar way. I've been so busy at work that I barely have any time to get lunch. This is using so busy and then linking to the result of that. Okay? And so you guys did really well on this one. One thing to notice is I used the present perfect tense. I've been too busy. Okay? Or I've been so busy. Why do I use the present perfect? Well, it started in the past and continued till now, right? And it means like recently. Okay? I've been too busy at work. Okay? So some of you use present tense. I am too busy at work, so I hardly have any time to eat lunch. That's okay too. But if it's recently, it's better to use present perfect. I've been too busy at work. Okay? Because it's not just today, it's been since then till now. Okay? Next up, 一点也不意外，我1个月瘦了5公斤。Getting too skinny. Oh, geez. So you could say, it's hardly surprising that I lost 5 kilos in 1 month. Oh, Jesus. I forgot. Our first sentence, I didn't even talk about the word hardly. Oops. So rewind. I hardly have any time to eat lunch. So I hardly have any time. That means you have a tiny bit of time, but you have almost no time. I hardly have any time. That means it's close to nothing, right? Okay. And so now let's go back forward. It's hardly surprising that I lost 5 kilos in 1 month. So it's hardly surprising means it's close to not surprising at all, right? It's hardly surprising. There's a tiny bit of surprise, but not really, almost nothing, okay? It's hardly surprising that I lost 5 kilos in 1 month. So I use I lost 5 kilos, past tense, because maybe I'm talking about 1 month, measuring 1 month, measure from the beginning to the end, and then that's over. Maybe we're in a new month. And so you can use the past tense in this and say that month is over. That happened back then. I lost 5 kilos in 1 month. You can also use present perfect in this one too. It's hardly surprising that I have lost 5 kilos in 1 month. That would mean that you're it started back then and continued till now. Maybe you're still in that 1 month, okay? Both are basically the same, but slight differences. Remember, past tense means it's over. Present perfect means it started back then and you're still in it, okay? And so, one other thing. Somebody started the sentence with hardly surprising. Hardly surprising, I lost 5 kilos in 1 month. Now, this is okay, but it needs to be an adverb if you want to start the sentence with it. You would say, hardly surprisingly, I lost 5 kilos in 1 month. That's like what we've learned in part 4, where you start with a adverb to make that important or focus on it. Like, unfortunately, blah, 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 blah. Hardly surprisingly, blah, blah, blah. But using hardly surprisingly in this way is not very common. It's more common in the middle of a sentence. So, it's hardly surprising is more common. It's hardly surprising that I lost 5 kilos in 1 month, okay? And again, kilos is the common way to say this. In Taiwan, people will say kg, like I lost 5 kg. But native English speakers don't really say kg. Well, okay, Americans, people in America, don't use kilograms at all. Maybe in science, you might measure in science class with kilos or kilograms, but day-to-day people in America use pounds and ounces. So we don't really use the word kilos at all. But people in England or Europe will say kilos. They might also say kilograms. But kg, that's Taiwan English, okay? So don't say kg, say kilos or kilograms, okay? So next up is 我几乎没有晚上11点前回到家过. Oh, this job is too tough. I hardly ever get home before 11 o'clock at night. Oh, I hardly ever get home, blah, 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 blah. Hardly ever means almost never, right? Hardly ever means in all of this time, there's maybe 1 or 2 times, but close to never, right? I hardly ever get home before 11 o'clock at night, okay? Adding the word ever just emphasizes that it's very rare. So you could say just the word hardly. I hardly get home before 11 o'clock. That's fine. Adding the word ever makes it stronger and shows that it's really, really close to never. You're emphasizing how rare it is, how little it happens, okay? So I hardly ever get home before 11 o'clock. Now, I think best in this sentence is get home. Get home before a certain time. I did say someone used the word arrived. I hardly ever arrived before 11 o'clock. Well, arrived with a D is past tense, so that would mean it's over. We're talking about an old story. But if it's still happening, you don't want that D. You can use the word arrive. I hardly ever arrive at home before 11 o'clock. That's okay, but it sounds a little more formal. What do we usually say? Keep it simple. People will often just say get home. That's more common than the word arrive, okay? And then, I hardly ever get home before 11 o'clock at night, okay? You could say 11 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock if it's clear you're talking about night, or you could say 11 p.m. Both are okay. I hardly ever get home before 11 p.m. But in spoken English, we often say 11 o'clock, not 11 p.m. Okay? Next up, you walk home at night and go, oh, it's creepy. Oh. So you say, 回家路上几乎都没人，让我感到好寂寞。Oh, I'm so lonely, lonely, I'm so lonely. So, there are hardly any people on the road home at night. Oh, I said it a little bit wrong. There are hardly any people on the road home at night. which makes me feel lonely. Okay? You could also say, I see hardly any people on my way home at night. So it's better if you use there are. It feels a little more natural in English. So, but you could say, I see hardly any people. So up to you. I'm just giving you more choices. So there are hardly any people on the road home at night, which makes me feel lonely. And so here we're starting with there are. Now, there were a few different ways that people wrote this. This should be there are. And it's present tense, are, because it happens again and again and again. Or that's how I'm thinking about it, right? It's not just one night, it's every night. There are hardly any people on the road home at night. Okay? So first thing should be present tense. It happens again and again. Second problem, it should be plural. There are hardly any people. People is more than one, so we use are. Now, I saw someone use there is. There's hardly any people on the road home at night. Now, that is not correct, but people now will use there is all the time. Native speakers in America use theirs or there is, even if the thing after it is plural. Oh, there's a lot of people over there. That happens all the time. There's many things to do today. It's wrong, but people say it. So just letting you know. I would say try to follow that rule, say there are people, but you'll hear Americans say there's people over there. It's pretty common these days, okay? And then I saw a few people wrote there were or there was. Now that's past tense. If you're talking about one night, then yes, you can use past tense. There were hardly any people on the road home at night, okay? Which made me feel lonely. So if you are talking about past tense, maybe last Friday, you need to keep it consistent, past and past. And it should be hardly any people, because we're not talking about one person. We want to talk about people. There might be 2 or 3. It's just not many, right? Close to none, but a few, okay? And then at the end, we use which is what we learned last week, or we learned recently. You can use which to describe a whole sentence, right? There are hardly any people on the road home at night. Then you can use which to describe that whole idea, which makes me feel lonely, okay? I did see someone use that makes me feel lonely, but if you use that, it should be starting a new sentence. So there are hardly people on the road home at night, period. That makes me feel lonely. But it's a little more natural to use which because it flows more smoothly. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's keep on going. Move to Lesson 9, Conversation 2, Part 4. Whew. So this is the one where we're looking at different kinds of adverbs, these describing words that talk about actions or talk about other describing words. And where do we put them in a sentence? Now remember, English is flexible with these kinds of words. You can put them at the beginning, the middle, or the end. But in this lesson, we learned the default position. Like if you're not sure where to put a word, just stick it in the usual place, okay? Which is what we learned, okay? So our first sentence is 早餐店的老板娘常常请我喝饮料. Okay, this one was tricky, but because in English, we do not say 老板娘. We don't need that. Why is there a 娘 on there? Just say 老板. In English, we don't care if it's a man or a woman. We just say, the owner of the breakfast shop often gives me free drinks. Now, notice, the owner. Do you know if it's a man or a woman? No, it doesn't matter. So in Chinese, people will use the phrase 老板娘. But in English, we don't care. We don't care if it's a man or a woman. It's not important. We just say the owner. Okay? So, especially in America, there are words like actor and actress or waiter and waitress that America is trying to get away from those kinds of words. We don't want you to know if it's a man or a woman just from the word because it's not important. If it's a man or a woman if you use a word that shows it's different, maybe that means you feel like you should think of it differently. But in America or American English, we try to get rid of those differences between man and woman, try to make men and women equal. So we don't even have a word, 老板娘, we just say the owner or the boss, okay? So the owner of the breakfast shop often gives me free drinks. It doesn't matter if it's a woman, right? So I saw a few students use things like the ma'am who is at the breakfast shop. We don't use ma'am to talk about a boss. Ma'am is what you might say, kind of like how you say sir to a man. You might say ma'am to a woman, but it sounds a little bit old-fashioned. But we wouldn't use that for the boss of something. You wouldn't say the ma'am. And then I also saw someone say the breakfast shop female owner. You don't need the word female in there. So you could say the breakfast shop owner. Do we care if it's a woman? No, who cares? It's not important. Well, it is important in all of these sentences. Well, actually, not really. It could be a man. Who cares? So later on, you'll find out through these sentences that it is a lady because we use the word she, right? But at the beginning, the word owner doesn't tell you man or woman, okay? So the owner of the breakfast shop often gives me free drinks. The word often is an adverb of frequency, shows how often it happens. And so that word goes in front of our verb. Gives, often gives, okay? And it happens again and again and again. It happens often, okay? And then I saw someone use the word usually. The owner of the breakfast shop usually gives me free drinks. Usually and often are similar, but usually means that it's close to always, maybe most of the time, 90% of the time, okay? Often says that it happens a lot, but it maybe not close to all the time, okay? And then my verb, I said, gives me free drinks. This is the most basic, most common way to say this. So she gives me free drinks, okay? If you go to a restaurant or a shop and they give you something free, that's how you'd say it. Oh, I went to the shop and he gave me a free blah, 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 okay? Or I went to the store and they gave me a free blah, 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 okay? I did see someone say, treats me to beverages. Now, beverages is the same as drinks, but beverages is more formal. In spoken English, we don't use the word beverage very often. We just say drink or drinks, okay? But the phrase treats me to, that's good. Treats me to something means to give someone something for free or like helps you, buys it for you. If it's the owner of the shop, we would usually say gives me something free. Treats me to something sounds like they are buying it for you. So my friend treated me to dinner, meaning my friend paid for my dinner. If the owner gives me a free drink, are they treating me to it? Are they paying for it? Well, yes, they're treating you to it, but the word treating will make people think that they paid for it, okay? So gives me free drinks is a little bit better here. Hopefully that makes sense, okay? And kind of like treats me to drinks, I saw someone use buys me drinks. Same thing. The owner isn't buying you a drink, they're giving you a drink because buying you a drink sounds like they paid someone to give it to you, right? So treats me or buys me drinks sounds like they're paying someone else, okay? So best is gives me free drinks. And then someone used gets me free drinks. Now, why don't we use gets? Well, it sounds like the owner goes somewhere to get you a drink. Get means like they're moving to get it. That could be okay, but the focus in the sentence is the give and giving you something free, okay? So all of these are okay, but gives is best. Treats and buys sounds like they're paying money for it. Gets sounds like they're traveling to get it for you, okay? Next, we have, this one was a little bit tricky. 她总是偷偷地看我. Ooh, she's looking at you. Ooh, ooh. So, one phrase that you guys probably might not have learned before is she's always stealing glances at me. Now, a glance is like this. A glance is a quick look. So stealing glances means sneakily taking little looks at you, okay? She's always stealing glances at me. Ooh, wow. So 偷偷地看我. I think stealing glances is a good translation or a good phrase to use, okay? You could also say, she's always checking me out. Now, this doesn't sound as sneaky, but checking someone out means looking at them and thinking they look good, okay? Another way to say it, which is not exactly the same, you could say, she's always making eyes at me. So making eyes at me is maybe she's like this. Ooh, she looks at you with love in her eyes. She's making eyes at me. Okay. Oh, 1 second, I have a question. The question is, drinks 会被误认为酒精饮料吗? So, if you say the owner of the breakfast shop often gives me free drinks, will people think that's about alcohol? If you use the word drinks, it could mean with alcohol or with no alcohol. And if it's a breakfast shop, it's pretty clear that it is not going to have alcohol, right? I mean, there are some restaurants that have alcohol at breakfast, but breakfast, drinks, it sounds like it's going to be orange juice or coffee, right? So I know what you mean. That's probably why you use beverages, right? Beverages makes it clear that it's not alcohol. Drinks, in some situations, like let's say I ask you, hey, do you want to get a drink? I mean alcohol. But in this situation, it's a breakfast shop, so it's pretty clear that it's not alcohol. So get a drink, that phrase means alcohol. But the word drinks doesn't always mean alcohol, okay? Hope that helps. So let's go back to our second sentence. She's always stealing glances at me. So I use present continuous tense, meaning it continues, meaning it's happening again and again. You could use simple tense. She always steals glances at me. Both are okay. We can use both in some situations. And then I use stealing glances. The phrase you might think of is secretly looking at me or looking at me secretly. But yes, it makes sense if you say it. Oh, she keeps secretly looking at me. But it's not a very common phrase in English. So it makes sense, but it's not super common. So you can use a more common phrase to mean the same thing. So I would use stealing glances. Okay? And then I saw a few people use the verb watch. She's watching me secretly or watching me silently. Now remember the difference between look and watch. Well, look could be like this. It's a short time. Glance is like this. Very fast. Watch means like this. Watch means you're watching for a while. You watch a TV show. You watch a movie, right? You're watching something move and happen. So if she's watching me, what does that mean? If she's watching me, it sounds like she thinks you're stealing. Like if someone says, I'm watching you, that means they're going to keep their eyes on you and make sure you don't steal anything. So she's secretly watching me. Sounds like she's like this, making sure you're not stealing anything from the restaurant. Okay? So don't use watches here. You could say, she looks at me secretly, or she glances at me secretly. Okay? And then also, secretly is the best word here. Silently doesn't really fit. Silently is about sound. So anytime you look at someone or watch someone, it's always silent, right? So we're focused on that it's a secret, or she's stealing glances at me, okay? Next, 也许她暗恋我吧. So this one, I think everyone did really, really well on. And you could say, maybe she has a crush on me. Or perhaps she secretly loves me. Ooh. So I would go with the first one. Maybe she has a crush on me. So we learned about crushes many, many times. Usually we use have a crush. Maybe she has a crush on me. And maybe is a word that shows that we're not sure about it. And maybe goes at the beginning often. Maybe she has a crush on me. And then perhaps and maybe are the same. Put perhaps at the beginning. Maybe she secretly loves me. Here, secretly loves me is similar to a crush, but a lot stronger. A crush is, ooh, I kind of like that person. Secretly loves is, oh, I love that person. It's way more intense. Okay? Next is, 可惜我已经吸回了. So, hopefully I got it right. 我已经死会了. But in Taiwanese, it's 吸会, right? If I'm wrong, please laugh at me, okay? 可惜我已经吸回了. Unfortunately, I'm already taken. Oh, too bad. I don't have a chance with this owner. Hey, don't say this. This phrase is not very nice. It sounds like you wish you could be with that owner, okay? Unfortunately, I'm already taken. Unfortunately means, oh, too bad, bad luck. It's kind of sad. So unfortunately means you wish it was different. That's not a very nice thing to say here, right? Unfortunately, I'm already taken. But if you wanted to say for her, you think it's too bad for her, you could say, unfortunately for her, I'm already taken. That would be better. If you say, unfortunately, I'm already taken, that means you wish you could be with her, but you already have a girlfriend or something. But if you say, unfortunately for her, I'm already taken, that means, oh, maybe I don't care, but she's going to be sad. Okay? So I'm already taken. So taken is our adjective. So we use the word taken to mean that you are in a relationship. You're not single anymore. So I'm taken, or I'm already taken. And we use already to describe taken, right? So taken is the word we use when you are in a relationship. So this is the best choice. I saw a few people say, I'm already unavailable. Now, unavailable is usually used for scheduling. If you are trying to set up a meeting, you say, oh, sorry, I'm already unavailable. That sounds like your schedule is full. When we're talking about a relationship, you could use unavailable. That's okay, but it's more common to use taken. If we use unavailable, it's usually talking about someone else. Oh, I really like that girl, but she's unavailable, or she's taken. Both are okay. Talking about yourself, usually you'd say, I'm already taken. It's less common to say, I'm unavailable, okay? Unavailable when talking about yourself, usually about your schedule, okay? And then if you didn't want to use taken, or maybe this is a new phrase for you. You could keep it simple, use words you already know. Unfortunately, I'm already dating someone, okay? Or I'm dating someone already. That's okay too. Good, okay? So this poor owner, she has no chance. And then, next up, 我应该仔细想一想，应该怎么办? Yeah. I should consider what to do carefully. So, you use the word unfortunately, meaning that maybe you kind of like that owner too. Ooh, she's cute and she makes a really nice toast. So maybe you're thinking about what to do. I should consider what to do carefully. So where does the word carefully go? Carefully can go at the end of the sentence if it's important in the sentence. I should consider what to do carefully. So consider, what does that mean? Why do we use consider here? In earlier streams, I've told you, just use think, don't use consider. But here, we want to use consider because consider means think carefully. You need to consider your choices. I should consider what to do carefully. So consider means think carefully. Consider carefully means think carefully. Yeah, very carefully, okay? I should consider what to do carefully. Now, carefully, the default position is at the end, but it doesn't have to be. It can be before the main verb. I should carefully think about what I should do. So we do this if the action is more important. If thinking about what to do is more important than carefully, put carefully in the middle. I should carefully think about what I should do. So, yeah, you should figure it out. If you're thinking about this breakfast shop lady, you should definitely think things over. Are you really happy with your girlfriend or wife if you're thinking about the breakfast girl? I don't know. So, we use the word carefully, and often we use carefully about thinking. You think things through piece by piece. Now, I saw someone use the word serious, but you want to use seriously. So, I should seriously think about what I should do. Carefully means you're taking your time thinking step by step. Seriously means you're thinking really hard about it, okay? And seriously works here, but it's a little bit different, okay? One other thing is I should consider what to do or what I should do. Remember, a noun clause, this phrase that acts like a thing, what I should do. Think about what I should do. What I should do acts like a thing. Remember how we do that. What I should do. It should be what and then subject verb. So I saw a couple people say, I should carefully think about what should I do. Now, this is a common thing. What should I do is a question, though. If it's in a sentence like this, don't say, what should I do? You say, what I should do. Okay, it should be what, subject, verb. It's pretty tricky to remember, right? But it goes, what, verb, subject in a question. In a noun clause, what, subject, verb. English is so annoying, right? So just be careful with that. I should think carefully about what I should do. Okay? Okay. Now, let's keep on moving. Then we get to our dialogue where we have our negative personality. How dare that person send me that sexy photo? Oh my gosh. I'm going to get revenge. And your friend Jenny says, hey, don't get mad, get even. Don't get mad, get even. How are you going to get even? By getting strong, getting buff, getting ripped, getting jacked, big muscles. And so you go exercise, get really buff, and then join a weightlifting competition. But what happens? You get overconfident. You get, I'm angry at everyone. I'm going to win. And then, it's too heavy. My back. You hurt yourself. Oh, what a dummy. So this is what getting too worked up, getting too crazy can actually end up hurting yourself, right? You say, oh, I'm going to do it. And then there goes your back. Bye-bye, back. Okay, so in this part, we had 3 sentences, and these ones are basically practicing our grammar sections. I might have missed, but I don't think we practice any idioms in here. But our first sentence is, 这部影集超级让人上瘾的. Oh, wow. You love this show. You are binge watching this show. Remember binge watching? It means you can't stop watching it. You watch episode by episode by episode by episode. Maybe you watch the whole series in one day. Have you ever done that? I've done it before. It was not good, but kind of fun. So you could say, this TV series is super addictive. Okay, a TV series. Now, you could just say this series. So if the person you're talking to knows what you're talking about, you can say this series. That's okay too. But if you're talking to somebody, well, to make it more clear, add TV. This TV series is super addictive, okay? And then addictive is an adjective describing a thing, meaning you can't get rid of it. You can't stop. We use this for things that we really like, right? Oh, this chocolate is addictive. This TV series is addictive. This music is addictive. But it can also be used for bad things. Oh, cigarettes are addictive. Stuff like that. They can't stop smoking. Hopefully that's not you. But we can use this for things you really like too. This TV series is super addictive. And then you could also use the word addicting, ing, addicting. And we use that in the same way. This TV series is super addicting with ing. Addictive is more common though. And then how addictive is it? It's super addictive. So here you could put any adverb you want. How addictive? It's really addictive. It's hopelessly addictive. It's incredibly addictive. It's absurdly addictive. It's ridiculously addictive. There are many, many words that just mean very. Okay? And everyone did well on this one. Good job. Next out is 我这几天很密集的看很多集. 诶，很多集? Yeah. I get this mixed up. G and G, I mix up sometimes. Too close, too similar. Okay. So I've been intensely watching a lot of episodes these past few days. So I've been intensely watching a lot of episodes these past few days. So let's start with our verb. I've been intensely watching. Now, we are using the present perfect continuous. Have been watching. Why do we do that? Because we're talking about it started before, continued to now, and it's continuing. And we use the ing to focus on that it's been a long time. I've been intensely watching a lot of episodes these past few days. So we can use present perfect continuous, have been watching. You don't have to, but it's a good fit here. So you could use present perfect. I've watched. I've watched, or I've intensely watched a lot of episodes these past few days. That's okay too. Started back then, continued to now. Okay? So it's best to use a perfect tense here. I've been watching. I have watched. So this is a chance to say, this is when you really want to use those perfect tenses. Using past doesn't really work. Using present doesn't really fit that well either. So the perfect is best, okay? Tenses, really annoying, but they're really useful. They can help the person listening understand when you're talking about, okay? So next up is using the word intensely. I've been intensely watching a lot of episodes. Intensely describes how you're watching it. And intensely just means you're very intense. You can't stop. You've been pushing yourself to watch more and more. So you really love it. So intensely watching, like this. Okay? And then watching a lot of episodes. You could say many episodes, but we use the word many more often in questions or in negative sentences. How many have you watched? Oh, I haven't watched many. But in positive sentences like this, it's better to use a lot. I've watched a lot of episodes. Okay? And then I use these past few days. So these past few days just means these days. These days means recently, right? These past few days means like the last 3 or 4 or 5 days. So these days means recently. These past few days is a little bit closer to now, okay? But both are okay. I saw someone say for several days. But by saying for several days, you're not showing the feeling of recently. So using these past few days or these days shows that it's happened recently. Okay? Next is 我几乎没有吃东西跟睡觉. Oh, yeah, you're watching too much TV, binge watching too intensely. So I've hardly been eating or sleeping. Okay, I've hardly been eating or sleeping. Okay? You could also say, I've hardly eaten or slept at all. Something like that. I've hardly eaten or slept at all. But I've hardly been eating or sleeping. This is present perfect continuous. It started back then, continuing till now, and continuing with ing. And we use present perfect continuous, have been eating or sleeping, because we're focused on that it's been a while. You're focused on how long it's taking, okay? So I've hardly been eating or sleeping. With hardly, it's almost nothing. Well, I've hardly been eating or sleeping. So almost not eating, and then also almost not sleeping. So when we use hardly, we often use the word or. Hardly been eating or sleeping. This, eating, almost nothing. Or what about sleeping? Almost nothing. So hardly been eating or sleeping. You can use and. I've hardly been eating and sleeping. But I think or feels a little bit more natural. I think or would be more common here. Okay? I did see people say, I barely ate anything and slept. But if you say it this way, you're separating the two verbs with the word anything. So I barely ate anything and slept. The way you said it, because you have ate anything and slept, it sounds like and slept is the next thing that happened. So it would be better if you say, I barely ate anything and slept at all. So you need to have things on the sides. If we have and, we want the two sides to be similar. Ate and slept. I barely ate and slept. That would be better. But if you say, I barely ate anything, that sounds like the end of one idea. And saying, and slept, sounds like the next idea. I barely ate anything and slept. Meaning, I didn't eat, I almost ate nothing, and then I went to bed. So, see, the meaning sounds a little bit different. So, we want just ate and slept. Keep it together. So, I barely ate and slept anything or at all. Okay? I also saw someone say, I hardly even ate and slept. That's good. And using even is emphasizing it, making it stronger. But like I said, with hardly, it's a little bit better to use or, because it sounds like you're thinking about these two choices. I hardly ate. I also hardly slept. Both of these things. Okay? Both of these things would be and. But I don't know, using hardly feels better with or. Okay? I'll have to look up exactly why. Sorry, guys. So, hopefully this isn't you. This TV series is super addictive. Oh, it's so good. What have you been watching recently? Did you watch Queen's Gambit? Did you watch that all in one day? I hope not. I've been intensely watching a lot of episodes these past few days. Have you done this before? What did you binge watch? A long time ago, when I was in college, I binge watched the show called Lost. I watched all of it in like 2 days. It was crazy, but it was great. I've hardly been eating or sleeping, staying up all night, forgetting to eat because you love this show too much. Have you ever done this? Let me know which shows you've tried this with. For me, it was a show called Lost, and I went crazy back then. My friend, he watched Naruto, which is about a fire ninja. He watched like all of that in a couple days, which is scary. What about you? What have you binge watched before? What show was super addictive for you? Okay, so this is pretty much it for our homework. And again, let me know if you have any more questions. And if you're watching this after the live stream, feel free to leave questions. They'll pop up for me in my messages, and I'll respond as soon as I can. Okay? And what about you? Have you ever tried powerlifting? This could be something called a deadlift too, where you like lift straight up and you lift a really heavy thing. It's pretty popular to do deadlifts. Some people want to get big, strong muscles. But I don't know, maybe not for you. I haven't really tried it. Maybe I should, though. I should get bigger muscles, right? I gotta get jacked. Okay, so get out there and try to exercise, be healthy, everybody. And then next week, we will look at conversation 3. And conversation 3 is about our third personality who's kind of chilled out. You don't try too hard, you don't work too hard, and so you go the opposite way. In this lesson, you try too hard, you get really strong, and then you get overconfident. Next week, we'll see you join a fighting competition, a fighting tournament. You and Jenny face off. But you don't really care, so you don't train. Oops. And where do things go if you don't really train? You don't get ready for your fight. Maybe things go well, maybe things go wrong. I think you have a guess what might happen. Okay, so I'll stick around for a few more minutes. If you are available and would like to chat, send a message to Kyle Moai. I love hearing from you guys. I like that we're doing our cappuccino recently. It's been fun getting to hear from some of you. If you're in this stream right now and I haven't heard you on cappuccino, you should try it out. Don't be shy. Don't worry if people hear your voice. Who cares? Practice makes perfect, right? So, tomorrow I'll ask about a TV series. Like, have you ever gotten addicted to a TV series? That'll be my question tomorrow, okay? So hopefully you can try talking, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to hear from you. Today's cappuccino, if you've tried it, is, what was it about? It was about coffee. How do you drink your coffee? So you'll hear from me tomorrow on that. And yeah, try to join in. I want to hear from you guys more. Send more messages, send voice messages, send things in our group, whatever, okay? I'll see you next time with Lesson 9, Conversation 3. Oh, and then, hiya, hua, getting into a fight. Okay, see you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and see you next time. Oh, let's see. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Goodbye.